Hello everyone, and welcome again to another exciting product that's being released by Roar 3D Solutions. I am Jason Roar of Roar 3D Solutions, and you can always check my website out at www.roar3dsolutions.com. You can browse the store and take a look at the most recent models that myself and my team has helped produce, and you can always purchase at a discount if you are going through YouTube to find some of my models. All you have to do is send me a note, and you instantly get a 20% discount on the model. Okay, so to start with, today we're going to talk a little bit about the HK36 Turbocharge, which is a neat little two-seater general aviation aircraft that was designed in, I believe, Germany. And this aircraft was a project for an individual, and it turned into a fully rigged design. So what I have here is, and actually I'll bring up the Espresso so you can see. The Espresso has a whole lot of stuff going on for different items, and so you have all the controls that are going to be set and easy to use within the Espresso interface. So how do you do this? So once you open the model in Cinema 4D, as it is a native Cinema 4D model, you just select the root directory here, the root model. In fact, you can just have that selected, and make sure that you select the HK36TC tab, and then voila, you have all the controls right here. So what have we done for controls? We've made a high and low res. Now it doesn't change the body of the aircraft, it only hides the interior to make much easier to navigate and throw into a scene in the viewport. Or if you want to do a long distance render, that's what that's intended for. And there's a black reflective kind of assume it's a tinted type of window to be able to just reflect. Just the same, you can choose to use the high resolution, which will then give you all the interior details, and we'll go over some of that here in a sec. And as always, you have the ability, I'm going to go ahead and select shading lines. You have the ability to use the level of detail in the editor so you can get a quick view to why, or to how it's going to be subdivided when you're going to render it out. I typically leave this down or off, but you have the power to do that for a close-up render shot if you need to preview it in the editor. In the renderer, I always recommend a level of detail render of 2 when you're doing anything up close. You can go much higher than that, and you'll get a really nice output. As you can see, the model was built entirely in quads, and as such in low resolution, you're going to see some artifacting that's a little undesirable, but then as you start increasing the resolution, everything's going to clean up and it's going to seat just like it's supposed to. All of the textures are 4K and above in size, and they are mapped using the Cinema 4D tools. So exporting this to another program would require a little bit more work. So just to make sure that's clear. So what you also have here, let's go back into GoRad shading. You have control over color of the aircraft. So the base code, if I want it to be a black airplane, we can do that. And then you have the power to adjust reflection overall globally on the paint. You can also adjust your, let's say we want kind of a goldish type of tint. You can adjust the specular in that sense. Same thing with the trim color. For the sake of it, let's make kind of a cool dark red, and then let's adjust the specular to a nice red. So now you have this kind of goldish black red aircraft. So you have the power to make quick control changes there, and then as I mentioned, the reflection here, if I do a quick render, you'll see slight reflection. Let's go back to the white. Oh, this will work better. So you'll see the reflections here of the aircraft, and if I drop that reflection down, clearly it's a flat color then, and if I bump it all the way up, it's very, very reflective. So I'm going to leave it around 35. That seems to be a good color, or a good percentile. The interior color, you have control over this as well. So if you decide you want more of a brown leather interior, you can do that. Sorry, I kind of gave you something hideous there. Let's find something a little bit more unique. So we can go with a turquoise type of leather if you want. Just any color that you decide to go with. Let yourself free and roam. Say you want bright leather seats too, you can make that adjustment. So there is a texture that is used in the leather bump material, but the color is fully adjustable. Okay, so additionally, into the flight controls, I've added a kind of a fun thing for you. So because this is a motor glider and it does have the ability to flex the wings, I've given you a wing deformer tool so you can go ahead and flex the wings, and I did give you a maximum deflection in the area of about 15-20 degrees, which is kind of probably a little bit more than you actually see in the actual aircraft too. Sitting on the ground, you'll probably never see it droop as much as I allow it, or flex as much as I have allowed it. So you should have good control and power if you're doing an animation and you wanna emulate kind of a wing flex, because this aircraft will actually have a flex in the wing. So we have the ability to adjust the propeller RPM. You just have to hit your timeline. So let me go ahead and open the timeline up here. If I hit play and I start letting it rotate, it will rotate. And it's just a radians per second or per degree. So as you increase the speed, it will quickly accelerate. And if you are using a physical renderer, so if I go up to render and I say physical, and under physical I select motion blur, you'll actually get a really nice looking motion blur out of the model when you render it. However, the physical renderer, as awesome as it is, it's very difficult to render with. If you haven't spent much time working with it, it takes a lot of processing power, so just keep that in mind. What I've also done here is given a quick adjust tool, so if you don't want to use the physical renderer but you would like to have a propeller that is still blurred and spinning, you can give it some level of motion and you have a spinning blurred propeller, and you can actually make an adjustment and make it look like you're changing the exposure on your camera too in this sense, but you have full control of giving it as high a rotation as you like. So that's controllable and up to you. So additionally, if you use just the object tool for the propeller, you also have the ability to pitch the prop as a constant speed prop would allow you to. So full feather is going to be 100% and full pitch is going to be at 0%. So now let's get a little bit into controls. So you have aileron, so right is right, left is left. Controls do match on the aircraft wing as well as the flight stick, and I am using, as you can see, a little deformer tool for that boot to follow. And the same thing applies with elevator. Back is up and forward is down, and you'll get the same effect on the physical elevator. And of course, we always have the lovely rudder, which will then rotate not only the rudder, but will rotate your nose wheel, and it will rotate your rudder pedals. And these are all constrained with the character tool. So if you have a character and you put a goal on their leg, you'll be able to just have them apply, have their feet move in correlation with the actual rudder pedals. And of course, we have the ability to lift the canopy. Now, I'm not certain of all the mechanisms that are involved on the actual HK36, so all I've done is put a simplified hydraulic arm that will track and extend with the canopy as you open and close it. So this is a fairly simplified set here. And of course, the most fun part about anytime you're working with an airplane in an animation is you want lighting. So you can hide or unhide the light, and to do that you just simply select the light hide lights in editor, which will also allow you to move much quicker when they're hidden. I'm going to go ahead and hide them for now. You have your landing light, which I'm going to come here and show you that if you use the lens effect output, you should get a nice lens effect in the camera whenever you're close in and in view of the actual landing light. Just like that. So you'll get a nice flare. In fact, for this, I'll go ahead and bump this down. You'll get a nice flare whenever you're going to render something out and you use that effect. And that's just built in. If you don't want that, I'm happy to help walk you through how to remove that effect. Of course, we also have nav lights. I'll go back here and get the lights going. So now that we have the lights activated, it's going to go quite a bit slower in the editor, and this is why I've disabled the lights from the editor. So actually I will disable it again. So let's see, if the landing light's on with the nav lights, you have kind of a nice glow that's going to happen over on the arm of the aircraft, and it looks like we have the wrong color here for the nav light, so we'll make that correction here. So you have the ability to modify the correct output. So sorry guys, that's better. You always have your green or blue-ish nav light on the right side and the red light on the left side. That's how we work in aviation. Okay, so as you use the nav light, it'll have kind of a nice glow to it. I also have a bottom fuse light. Normally you have a white light in the tail of the aircraft, and this is just kind of a nice glow on the bottom of the fuselage. And of course the fun part is when we get into the strobes. So I'm going to hit the timeline here, and you'll see the strobe actually flaring here. And this I just have a hidden strobe, so you can't see it as well in the editor. But if I pause it and then go ahead and do a quick view, actually let's go ahead in here. What you'll also get with the strobe is the same kind of lens effect. It's a searchlight lens effect. So it's going to give you kind of a nice bright a bright effect, as if it's screaming itself along. And then the beacon light will it's a modulo, so it will allow itself to go ahead and glow as it's as a normal beacon would, so it's kind of an up and down glow. So if I get rid of these lights and I come in here and we take a look at the interior, let's go ahead and lift the canopy up. You do have some cockpit lights, and they're kind of hidden lights, and I've made it a simple Boolean switch. So if I just hit go, then you get this kind of nice cockpit setup. Now keep in mind, I'm just doing this with a standard renderer. If you actually want to make a real nice render, you probably would end up using a physical renderer, or a or you would at least use global illumination. So and you also have the cockpit instrument lights, so when we turn those on, you have kind of a nice lit cockpit. So if we're flying along and we just want to look at the cockpits while we're flying for either an instructional video or whatnot, you're going to have this nice lit up area here. Actually, I'll go ahead and do landing lights, which will hide the other lights, and there you go. You can now see it's just the cockpit lights. Okay. So this should be hopefully a fun product for those of you that want to do a scene with a general aviation aircraft and want it fully rigged. This one's all set to go. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to look at this video, and hopefully this motivates you to want to purchase the aircraft. Again, you can purchase at roar3solutions.com or also on CG Trader. Link will be in the description below. Thanks a lot.